Tonight's objective is I can solve real-world problems involving the four operations with rational numbers. So what that tells me is I'm now going to have to deal with word problems that involve our four operations, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and we have signed rational numbers. So tonight we're just going to go through the four homework word problems you had. So let's take a look at the first one. Steve has a balance of negative $27.64 in his checking account. His bank charged him $15.50 for an overdraft fee. He then quickly deposits $105. What is his current balance? Okay, well, right now, to start, his balance is a negative $27.64. The bank then charged him $15.50 in an overdraft fee. That means that's another negative $15.50. That's more money coming out of his account. Then he quickly deposits $105. If you're depositing, that's an addition. So he's going to add on $105. So what he has is right now he has negative $27.64. To that, he gets charged $15.50, so he's going to add on a negative $15.50. Then finally, he's going to deposit $105, so he's going to add on a positive $105. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my negatives to start. Signs are the same with these first two. I'm going to find the sum. So off to the side, I'm just going to do $27.64 plus $15.50. That's going to be my scrap work. Signs are the same with those. I'll find the sum. 4 and 0 is 4. 6 and 5 is 11. 7 and 1 is 8. And 5 is 13. 2 and 1 is 3. And 1 is 4. I make sure my decimal points were lined up, and I just bring that decimal right down into the answer. So that's 4314. Signs are the same. I find the sum, and I keep the sign. They're both negative. That answer will be negative. That happens with addition and subtraction. Signs are the same. You find the sum, you keep the sign. At that point, I need to add on the 105. Then I'm going to look at this and I say, are those signs the same or are those signs different? Well, our signs are different now, so I'll find the difference. So my scrap work off to the side is going to be finding the difference. 105 minus 4314. Again, with adding and subtracting, we have to line up our decimal points. If there's no decimal point with that 105, I know it's 105.00. Here I'd have to subtract because the signs were different, so I'm going to find the difference. I can't take 4 from 0. So then I try to borrow from here. I'm like, oh, that's already a 0. So I move over here. I borrow from the 5. The 5 becomes a 4. That allows this to become a 10. You're like, I got to still borrow from the 10. Borrow from the 10. That becomes a 9. And this becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 1 is 8. Keeping my decimal point lined up. 4 minus 3 is 1. 10 minus 4 is 6. So that's $61.86. What do I have more of? I have more positives. So right now I have a positive $61.86 in my checking account or in his account. Let's take a look at the next one. An earthquake that happened near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco caused a crack in the ground 79 feet below sea level. If the Golden Gate Bridge is 220 feet above sea level, what is the difference between the top of the Golden Gate Bridge and the crack that's 79 feet below sea level? Okay, first of all, I'm going to take a look. Right here, this is 79 feet below sea level. So if this is sea level would be like 0 on a number line. So if I'm looking here and I say, okay, that's sea level right there. If I'm 79 feet below sea level, that's way down here at a negative 79. That's 79 feet below sea level. And then we take a look at the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Golden Gate Bridge actually stands way up here at 220 feet above sea level. So what they want is they actually want this distance from negative 79 below sea level up to 220 above. And they ask us to find the difference that will give us that distance. So they want the difference, which means to subtract, between the top of the Golden Gate Bridge, which is 220 feet above sea level, and the crack that's 79 feet below. 79 feet below means a negative 79. So we're going to find the difference. We're going to subtract 220 feet above minus our negative 79 below. And so minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So now our signs are the same. We're going to find the sum. 220 plus 79. 0 plus 9 is 9. 2 and 7 is 9. And bring down our 2. That must be 229 feet is the distance between those two. And so if you look here, I have to travel up 79 feet and then another 220. I've actually, oops, that should be a 299. I actually have traveled up 299 feet between 79 feet below and 220 feet above. Hopefully that visual helps. We've worked some with vertical number lines this year. Next one, in Chicago, the high temperature in degrees Fahrenheit for 5 days in January were negative 12, negative 8, negative 3, a positive 6, and a negative 15. What was the average temperature for these 5 days? So to find the average, we'll add up all the temperatures and then divide by the number of days, the 5 days. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add up all the temperatures, but we've talked before, sometimes it's easier to combine all our negatives. That's a negative 15 there. Combine all our negatives, combine all your positives, and then in the last step, put your positives and negatives together. So we have negative 12 plus negative 8 plus negative 3 plus negative 15, and then at the end we'll add on that positive 6. Because all of these signs are the same, I'm just going to find the sum. So I'm going to add up all of my negatives together. 12, 8, 3, and 15. And I'm going to go ahead and add those all together. 8 and 3 is 11, 12, 13, 13 and 5 is 18. 1, 2, 3. So that's 38. So when I add up all my negatives, I get 38. So that's a negative 38. Signs are the same. I found the sum. I kept the sign. So then I just have to do negative 38 plus 6. Here I see my signs are different. I'm going to find the difference. So I'm going to do 38 minus 6 would be 8 minus 6 is 2, so that should be 32. So that's 32. I say, what do I have more of? I have more negatives. So when you find the sum, when you add up all the temps for those 5 days, you're actually at a negative 32. But what we then need to do to find the average is divide by the number of days, divide by 5 days. So we're going to do negative 32 divided by 5. First of all, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Now I have to do 32 divided by 5. I'm going to long divide off to the side, some more scrap work. 5 goes into 32. 5 goes into 36 times. 6 times 5 is 30. I'm sorry, 5 goes into 32 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract off, we're left with 2. Bring down a 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So that looks like negative 6.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh yeah, it is Fahrenheit. Degrees Fahrenheit would be the average temperature for those 5 days. It's pretty chilly in Chicago. So negative 6.4 degrees Fahrenheit is the average. You had one more problem. Hilltop Roofing was $3,765 in the red. That means how much they owed creditors. In the red means you're in the negative. At the end of June. At the end of December, they were $8,765 in the red. They owed even more money. How much money did they make or lose between June and December? Okay. Did they make or lose money? How much? Okay. So in June, they were at a negative $3,765. By December, they're now at a negative $8,765. Oh no, they totally lost money. They're further in the hole now. So they lost money between June and December. Lost money. How much did they lose? Well, gosh, if we were at negative 3,765 and now we're down to negative 8,765, how much more did we lose? How much more did we add on to that? Ooh, we added another negative $5,000, right? Let's just double check that. They lost money and they actually lost $5,000. Lost another $5,000 is what it looks like. So if they asked you for an integer to represent that, that would be negative 500. Let's just negative 5,000. Let's just double check. Negative 3765 plus a negative 5,000. Signs are the same. Find the sum, keep the sign. 5, 6, 7, 3, and 5 is 8. So you're right, we end up at a negative $8,765. So they totally lost money, they lost another $5,000. Hopefully that helped walking you through those problems. Try to have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.